Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing for you.
Oh, it's fine. After the first meeting, Kelly's hosting her first tonight. I'm sure it'll be better than mine.
I don't know.
Oh, I bumped a guest who'd sign on as a panelist, thinking it was a double panelist.
Oops.
I don't think that was your issue. I think somebody shared a link and that messed things up.
Oh yeah, no, Dan had shared the link with 3 people, but we thought, because Mike Copey signed on twice, we thought it was two Mike Copeys because he had signed on, so we thought he was on a different device. It was just, it was okay. It was okay. It was kind of comical. I mean, I kept emailing
everybody. I believe we're live.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 9th, 2021 opening meeting of our budget season. This is our overview meeting, a little introductory, what to look for, big picture. Welcome to budget season. So Mayor Murphy is not able to attend tonight, so I'm going to attempt to fill his enormous shoes. If I forget anything, please let me know, everyone, fellow trustees. I'm relying on you to help me through this. Do I have a motion to open the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Do we know whether Victor's going to be able to join us today or not? I'm just curious.
I thought he was.
I didn't hear anything.
Okay.
I've been in communication with him today, and he's asked for several documents, so I believe he's joining.
Okay.
Very good.
It's fine.
We have lots of village staff here ready to talk about the budget, and I know they've been working very hard on preparing numbers for us. Jerry, would you like to get started, or would you prefer someone else get started?
No, I'll take it.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So I'm going to share my screen as soon as I put the document up.
And here comes Victor.
Mhm.
Too late.
You haven't missed anything.
Hi, Victor.
You're good.
Okay. On the screen is, I guess what we refer to as our calculation, our tax cap compliance calculation. So this 2021-2022 budget, which we will call from now on the 2022 budget, appropriations are almost $39.1 million. Revenue that we anticipate, other than real estate tax, is $12,117,000. We anticipate asking for the use of fund balance of $600,000, which we always do, which leaves us with a real estate tax levy of $26,379,842. So in reality, what that does is, since our tax cap allowable growth, according to the calculation that staff uses from the guidelines provided by the state, we have the ability, the board has the ability to allow for $778,707 of growth in this budget. Our introductory budget is $602,178 below that tax cap, basically increasing the budget by $176,529, or if you want to use the percentage increase, 0.67%. That's the big picture for tonight so far within our budget. I
Jerry,
trust everyone. Yep.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm not sure that I totally followed, so maybe I'm a little tense. You're telling me on the calculation that you're roughly a little less than $800,000.
That's correct. That's permitted. Mm-hmm.
That's permitted.
Yep.
And your budget is showing roughly 700,000 is that of additional potential expenditures if the board wanted. Is that correct?
Potential 600. Our budget, Dan, increases. The difference between the levy is 176,000. So our budget is increasing by 176,529, right? Mm-hmm. And so we are 600,000 below the allowable growth.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
we're only
So-
increasing it by 0.67, which is the 176,529.
Okay, so if I said, if we did not take the 650 from this surplus, we would have an overage of 50,000. Is that
No,
roughly?
it's 600. What you use in fund balance is 600,000. If you didn't want to use the money that you have in the bank to offset a tax increase, then you would be increasing taxes by $776,000 instead of $176,000. Because you use 600,000 from fund balance, and our budget that we're introducing to the Board of Trustees is $602,000 less than what you could raise it.
Okay, I got it now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Jerry, the numbers that you've shared on the screen are slightly different than the numbers I picked up this morning on paper.
Oh,
No, do you know what the difference is? I mean, my numbers are appropriations of 39.3 almost, 39,278, 833. Did things change?
Yeah, I gave him the wrong sheet.
You gave me the wrong sheet. Gave Jerry the wrong sheet or me the wrong sheet?
I gave him the wrong sheet.
so Augie, I'm going to stop sharing. If you can you have the sheet? Can you put it up? I'm going to stop sharing. You put up the sheet.
I don't think there's a big difference, in the final
Oh, no, there isn't a big difference.
amount of play. It's just they're slightly different numbers.
The one I found, I think I figured it out. The one that Jerry was sharing was the first one that was submitted to us.
Yep.
The paper copy is different.
Yeah, so we have it up now, Victor. So you're right, Kelly. It's not that much different.
Right.
Hey, I'm sorry.
No.
No problem. I'm glad we caught it.
Yep.
So in fact, we're below, and this is a number that's important because we have some discussions that we have to get through within the budget for some items, but we are below the allowable growth or tax increase. We're below by $617,084, which is an increase of 0.62%. So in plain terms, we have a budget that we're not up against the wall. We have some room in it, and we have some discussions in the next few weeks that we have to have, but there is some wiggle room in this budget to be able to add a few things that I believe we have. It's a board decision, in my opinion, but we can talk about that. And so I want to share with you the job that the staff has done in order to give you a budget with a 0.62% increase. Our insurance has gone up 19%. Our pension on non-police employees have gone up 18.2%. Our police department pensions have increased by 27%. Medicare has gone up 5.2%. Payroll tax has gone up 17%. Workman's comp, 14% increase. Disability insurance, 14% increase. Medical has gone up 5%. And that may seem like a small number, but a 5% increase in our medical insurance is $230,000. And our eyeglass and optical plan has gone up 21%. This budget continues to support the Community Counseling Center, the Emlyn Theater, Keeps After School Program, and our senior citizen rent. What do you want to call it, Augie? I guess it's a stabilization.
About the senior citizen rent increase exemption,
Yeah,
the SCREE program. Yeah, it's SCREE.
that's $9,400.
Jerry, I have a question. Do you have? Yeah, I'm unmuted. Do you have the list, what you just read to us, that has increased with the percentages?
I'll give you that
I-
list. I don't have it on the screen. I can provide.
Okay,
When you provide it, can you provide the actual dollars as well as the percentage?
with the numbers.
Oh, yeah, easily, yeah. I can provide all those increases for you. If we want to get into the budget, I can explain a few things that we've done very, very well in trying to manage. And a few things that, well, actually one giant big concern that I have that we're currently in the process of looking for a full-time village attorney. And while there may be a retainer for a village attorney and there are $370,000 set aside for litigation, if we're going to hire a village attorney this year, we need to start to talk about those numbers. We need to start to talk about a salary for that village attorney, any office staff support for that village attorney. We need to talk about the fringe benefit calculation that needs to be included. And our fringe benefit calculation is close to, it's 80%, it's 81%. So our fringe benefit is 81% of our salaries. There's some postage, there's some minor supplies, there's some things in the legal budget, but there's no training or conference, which we all know attorneys have to have, whatever they call them, continuing education units. So when you bring on a full-time employee, and I'm specifically talking about a section of the budget on page 19 and 20 in our handouts, we have to really iron out those numbers and figure out if we can work within the framework of what the legal budget is right now and just shift numbers around, but I don't think we can. And I'm not sure which group of, if not all of the trustees need to work on that with us, with Augie, Dan, and I on those numbers.
Hey, Jerry, I would point out on the village attorney piece, also, you'll need to buy a subscription to LexisNexis or Westlaw for legal research, and that can get costly. I'm sure that's something you haven't even thought of at this point.
No. Do we, or Dan, do we know if we have that in PD at all?
Yeah, I think we have a LexisNexis subscription
Yeah, we
already.
may-
Is that correct, Augie?
I think we canceled it because when we retained
Oh.
a 1099.
Oh, that's correct.
Legal, we used their copy.
Yeah.
For access to it.
You're right, then we have to add that.
Okay.
And we can work up numbers. We can work up some numbers for discussion purposes very quickly, but we weren't going to do that. I wasn't going to do that until we had this pre-introduction budget.
Jerry, does the court, any of the court people have LexisNexis contract?
I'd have to ask Ed. It's a good question, but I'll ask Bonnie.
Okay,
And
that's the one other, looking at the budget, that's the only other area I thought might have it.
correct. I might have that
They have
subscription.
the personal account.
Hmm.
I don't know if they're going to share it with the village.
Yeah, judiciary, Ed, judiciary, there's somewhat of a wall and divide with the judiciary system. We can't really share computers. We can't share, water bottles. We can't share a lot of things with them. So it gets a little dicey.
Okay.
But I can ask for sure. I do want to point out that we still do not have an engineer. I sent the board an email today about my concerns in managing what will eventually be close to $10 million in sewer remediation work that we have to do. And we do not have a funded engineering department. I'm working with a consulting engineer and I'm managing that myself with the help of a few staff members, but that's something that we have to talk about. But I can tell you that there's some things that we have really focused on. And if you look at page 79, if you look at the building department overtime, in the short time that I've been here, we have reduced building department overtime by 95%. In addition, we've had in insect control, we've had a consultant for the last 2 years training our staff. I am now licensed, as well as a staff member who is licensed to handle our insect control, which is really, the mosquito problem. We've had very successful years. I think we're lucky, but we've managed it well. But we have a 92% decrease in the consultant because now that we're trained, and I can provide legally, I can provide the oversight because I obtained my license last year. We will not need a consultant for that. So those were a couple of items. It would really be up to the board. However, in whatever fashion they want to talk about legal and they want to talk about engineering, and obviously, this is probably our opportunity to get questions. And if we can answer them, quickly, that's fine. If not, we're going to have to get back to whichever board member has a question so that we're not, spending too much time doing research on the fly here.
Hey, Jerry.
Yeah.
So the budget that you've prepared has no full-time village in the budget?
Yeah, let's go to, Augie, do you have the document live on the screen, or maybe Daniel? Let's go to page 18 and I can explain it while I have this little cake that Danielle bought me. I think she made it.
That's really nice.
That's very nice. I'm going to pull my paper copy up. The document that we're looking at is page 18 of 170
Mhm.
with the date of 2/5.
Mhm.
Right. So here we go. Personnel, permanent regular personnel, zeroed. Part-time intermediate clerk, zeroed. We do have some office equipment. We have uninsured legal expenses, $5,000, whatever we use that for. Printing and stationery. Augie, go to page 19, please. We have a little bit of money in postage. We have a conference, maybe a half a conference at $200, and some supplies. So then these are the big numbers here. This 565,000. 110 for our agreement with our village attorney. We have a $25,000 retainer agreement with our prosecutor, John. We have, let's see here, land use board, $60,000 retainer. And then we have litigation expenses of $370. And if you can see, look at the numbers in 2019. We spent $560 out of these group, this contract services group. In 2020, we spent 661. 2021, we spent 567. I'm sorry. Yeah, we adjusted it to 567. We are in February and we've spent $492,000 so far of the 567.
Jerry, my document says 495.
This number here, 2021 Ed actual.
Yes,
All right.
I can't read on the screen. My screen is too small.
Mine says that too.
Yeah, it's
That document
495.
is generated as of 125. You have a more recent document. Which
Well, it's only a couple of $1,000. So
an increase.
obviously there's not much left in that line. There's about 60, 70,000 to get us through the year. So we'll probably be in the 600 and probably similar to 2020, which was last year's budget. We'll probably be in that range, if not more. So these are the numbers. You can, if you have a full-time village attorney, you can take the 110 retainer. Obviously, you're not going to ask the village attorney to be the prosecutor, and you may or may not ask the village attorney to be the land use attorney. I'm not really sure. But then there are litigation expenses. I think the board would know better than I would know, potentially what litigation expenses could be saved with a full-time village attorney. I really don't have a picture on that as far as whether that number could go down at all or not.
Jerry, we would have to know, I mean, not as a board member, as a budget committee member, what constitutes that 495. What kind of bills that are being paid, to see whether having an in-house attorney is going to reduce that, or is they're still going to be paid no matter what.
We can give you a run of what the 1420 line is. We can give you a run of that. We can give you an itemized list. We wouldn't give you every bill, Ed. We would just give you the total sheet.
I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, the itemized sheet.
Yeah, if there are other questions, we'd have to come back to you. That's it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Jerry, can you talk about the revenues for a bit?
Sure. Talk about the revenues. I have notes.
No,
Go ahead. I can give-
conceptually,
Can you put it on the screen too, maybe, Augie?
Augie, page 10 of 10. I'm going to start with that.
conceptually, if I'm wrong, correct me, but it appears that for a great deal of it, you're assuming a non-pandemic approach. Is that a fair statement?
No, not for a large portion of it. We're still reducing some items that are a concern for us right now at this moment, currently. So, for instance,
If you could give us a capsule in terms of, more so than the actual numbers, I think that would be helpful in setting a perspective.
yeah, I can give that to you. I'll start with the last page first. We'll provide that.
This report is as of January 25th. Most of you have the report as of February 5th.
Mhm.
Yep.
Slight differences. Jerry, I'm on page 10 as requested.
Right. So our document on the last grand total of the increase of our revenue projections on this document is 13.14%. On our document dated 2/5 is 14.97, 15% increase. What we're projecting is a 15% increase from last year as we come through this pandemic with the vaccine distribution and those kinds of hopes and wishes. And it's optimistic, because we have people lining up. In fact, the county just recently asked me to poll all of the employees that have received the vaccine because they're trying to drill down on opening up the next group since the governor has allowed not municipal, they call local governments to be able to control it. But I can provide a few areas that we continue to be conservative on. And we're looking at some parking. We're looking at page 2.
Can we start with page 1?
Oh yeah, we can start with page 1. Okay, so on page 1, we're maintaining, actually we're going down on hotel occupancy tax by 14.3%. We have been experiencing an uptick in our sales tax, even with the pandemic. Luckily for us, I think we're collecting every Amazon and Walmart box that gets delivered to people's homes. We're collecting tax on that. So we anticipate, because just before the pandemic, we had the 1% increase. So we're anticipating a 24%, right? Oh yeah, 24.08% increase. Yeah. From our conservative number of 3.2 from last year.
I'm sorry, Jerry. This is Len. How you been?
Hi, Len. Good.
What page are you on?
Page 1.
Page
Oh.
1.
The sales tax I was trying to find here.
14.08.
Oh, okay.
Back in the middle of the
And
page.
What's
There it is.
the underlying assumption on the sales tax increase besides the fact that people are the larger economic assumption?
The 2021 number is slightly above the 2020 number, and the 2020 number that we collected of 3.7 didn't have, either we had 1 quarter of an increase that we realized or none. I can't remember exactly when we got the increase. Did we get the increase in August of 2019?
The increase was approved in,
Say it a little louder, Dan.
I'm sorry. The
Sorry.
increase was approved in 2019. When we worked on the budget last year, once the pandemic began and we started, looking at the repercussions, we had met all the municipalities with Westchester County, and what they advised was whatever you budgeted for the 2020 fiscal year, you should repeat that. And we had, when we prepared the 2020 budget, we weren't yet confirmed that sales tax had come through. So that's why the 3.2 million is what we adopted. When we originally submitted the budget, the manager's budget, the tentative budget, I believe it was somewhere around 3.7 or 3.8 million dollars, the number that we had originally estimated last year before the pandemic.
So we're going back to those numbers plus a slight increase.
That's correct.
Yep.
Because the evidence indicates that that's where we have been heading in this year.
We had a bit of that conversation last year. What I'm concerned is the actual is just a million, just a little over $1 million, right? That's the actual number.
That's one payment, Vic. Jerry, I hope you don't mind if I answer.
Please.
That's one payment so far. Second payment that came in February is 1,100,000.
Right.
So that's 2 payments. We already got more than 50% of what we actually projected the previous year. we're confident that the third quarter is going to also be over 1 million.
Can you outline this, and put it on paper? I'm really struggling trying to deal with the 24% increase number.
Well, Victor,
So
I think-
but I cannot, once I see your projections, how you really got there, I can understand it better.
All right,
Victor,
that's fair.
I can resend the email that we put together a couple of weeks ago when the news came out that the state was going to claw back a certain amount of the sales tax. I think I put some projections in there and what the actual payments were. Let me recirculate that and see if that addresses your question.
I think that coupled with how we can really justify the 24%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And looking really at other municipalities, I haven't, I just started looking, but I actually seen other municipalities going lower, but I just started. So let's really look at that number because it's really important. It's a really important anchor with.
We can also keep in mind, last year we decreased our sales tax revenue by
Significant.
5%.
I can't find it now, but I did 10 years of sales tax, and it really fluctuated. I started with 2008 with the recession, so I'm going to try to find it, and we'll be able to compare and have a better discussion on that. But at this point, I do see I really struggle with the 24%, to be honest.
We'll show you how we beat the projections on the first two payments so far. And we'll be able to demonstrate that. And then hopefully Dan, when he sends out that email, we'll solicit some questions from the board, from the committees and the committee and the board, so that we can get, we can drill down on that. That works out fine.
So if you want, I'll copy the budget committee on that then.
Daniel, before you send that email out, let's add the two payments and what we received
Absolutely.
in there. Okay, good.
So let me ask it a different way, Jerry. If you took out the 1% increase that we got, how are we stacking up in terms of the increase year over year?
In sales tax?
Yeah.
In sales tax, it's hard to calculate that because we had a 1% increase in the year, 2 years ago. So year over year, I have to figure out how to.
Okay, I got it. Okay.
Increase.
Then I missed
If it's consistent,
what
right?
Dan was saying.
If it's consistent at 7 point, I don't know, 0.325, whatever it is, if it's consistent at that, I can show you that. But then let's throw in mid-year in August of 2019, a 1% increase. And that, that might be beyond my Long Island educated brain. So I got
Well, I mean, if you look at what we collected in.
Dan, you got to speak up louder.
Yeah, Dan, you got to speak up.
Okay. If you look at what we collected in 2019, 2020, that was 3,739,672.
Yep.
That was essentially maybe 9 or 10 months at the increased sales tax level and 2 months at the old sales tax level.
Mhm.
Last year, when we originally put the tentative budget together, I believe we were estimating 3.8 or $3.9 million in sales tax revenue based on the projection from the prior year. Our experience this year shows that we are making essentially $1 million a quarter. And that's why we're projecting the 3,970,000 for next year. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to recirculate that email that I sent out earlier with our sales tax projections. And I will also send out lack of a term, the receipts from KVS showing what our first two payments are for sales tax. To show you the trend that we're on.
It looks like, Dan, just following that, the 3.7 in 2020 to the 3.9 is about a 6% increase.
Mhm.
So the real key here is what we expect this year, because the 24% may in fact be misleading, quite
Yeah.
frankly, from,
Yeah, it's
from what I
really,
can, from what I've heard.
it's really in line with what the actuals are this year.
But 3.97 is in line with what we're anticipating we're going to receive this year.
So what, it's Ellen, what's the timing of the next two payments?
Augie has that, I think.
The end of, give me a second, I'll pull it up.
Okay, thanks.
So the theory here is the economy will stay the same or better for next year. With people purchasing.
So what we do is we track the sales tax, and we take a look at what's going to come in. The second quarter that we just came in right now, which was 1,078,000, was composed of these 3 months. So the next two payments are going to reflect. The next payment is going to reflect the activity from January through March, and the last payment will go from April through June. Alan.
Right, but when do we receive the money? So I'm trying to figure out how we get 4
60-day lag.
payments.
It's usually a 60-day lag.
So then we should only be getting one more payment this year, correct?
For this fiscal year, we'll get one more payment and we'll accrue the fourth payment.
You do accrue it, okay.
That's right.
Glenn Tippett is here as an attendee and he has his hand up.
You can promote him. Oh, sorry.
I'm not sure why he's not here as a panelist, but I want
Because he's on his phone. I think he's on his phone.
Okay.
He doesn't, I don't think he
Well-
can play it on his computer.
could we allow him to speak, please? Glenn? Glenn? Glenn Tippett, you there? All right, let's continue.
So last year when we were putting together the budget, we reduced sales tax from what we anticipated to receive by 25%. Now that we feel that the 2022 budget year will be post-COVID, we'll get back those monies. And the trending seems to indicate we are getting it while we're still in COVID.
Mhm. That's what the trend shows us. Exactly right. During the worst months of COVID, actually.
Yeah, Augie, I'm looking. in
But it's
KVS.
also the spending season, right?
Spending season is a good indicator. You're exactly right.
Augie, I'm looking in KVS and I only see the, maybe I'm looking wrong. Yeah, I only see the one payment posted so far from November of 1,044,000.
We're on negative scheduling right now with Dan. As soon
Okay.
as Tamika comes in, she's gonna post it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We
I
just-
will wait. I will wait to send that email out then to the board of the budget committee because
We
Feel
actually
free
just
to-
got the funds yesterday. We got the
Okay.
email on the 3rd, but we got,
Okay.
the funds just came in yesterday.
okay,
We'll try to be
So-
quick next time, Dan.
just try harder next time, Augie.
You guys thought I was bad. So Glenn, Glenn came into, he's in our panelist now,
Great.
but he's still, no camera and he may have to star 6, Kelly, if that's the right
Well,
terminology.
Hello,
Hey,
There he is.
hear me now?
Yep.
My apologies, I'm actually in the hospital
Oh, no.
Glenn, are you okay?
infection, so I've been laid up for about the last week or so.
I'm so sorry.
Well, hopefully we're out tomorrow. I was gonna just be quick on the sales tax. The numbers you're looking at are actually 100% accurate. In fact, I predicted before we got the second payment, we'd get $3 million in sales tax. The first couple of months were off. We were probably up about 36% because you were talking about that 1% increase.
Mhm.
Since September, October, it was probably down about 3%. Then I think December we came in 16% above what we did last year. So when you talk about the revenue for sales tax, the numbers are actually 100% accurate with what's coming in, and it's fairly easy to monitor because New York State lets you know about the 25th of every month how much sales tax that Westchester collects. And at this point, you can do apples and apples and just do the calculation year over year.
thanks, Glenn.
Thank you. All right. Should we continue with revenues?
So we have an increase of 27% in building department miscellaneous fees. Those are permit fees and other items. I speak to the building inspector and I speak more often to the assistant planner now to make sure that she's okay in that office. And there is quite a few applications and permits coming in.
Jerry, how does this differ from the building permit fee line? Because there's a separate line for that.
This is that catch-all. Laura, I've asked Laura the same question.
Yeah, this is basically like application fees, not the permit fees. Those are on the larger budget line. This is just like $25, $50 C of O fees, stuff like that.
It's what we
Okay.
collect. Public safety, top of page 2.
Wait, Jerry, before you go to page 2, I still have a question on page 1. The interest and penalties on property tax? That's a $25,000 increase over year to date.
0100-1090.
Yes.
Okay. I don't recall. I think it's because our actuals are actually 282 right now.
That's correct.
Oh, what I'm looking at is 249. So, okay.
Yeah, I have it at 282, 945 right now.
Okay.
So does that mean a lot of people pay their taxes late?
Yes.
That's exactly what it means.
Kind of a sad way to get money.
But normally we're in the 220 to 250 range, Nora. So
Okay.
it's not that far off. So
It's probably, I mean, I just don't want it to be COVID related.
Habits. You can't kick habits if they're paying the taxes late every time.
That's all.
Page 2, we're good for page 2?
Yeah.
Yep.
We have a decrease of police traffic detail reimbursement of more than 25%. Although I can tell you, I'm a little, that's a very conservative number or a significant cut for us because I've been in contact mostly because I yell at them a lot, Con Ed, and they have a significant amount of work that has to be done in the village. And as of right now, we're at 175,000 in reimbursement. We still have a good, 3.5 months left where they're ramping up. I mean, they're doing a significant amount of work. And so all of the commotion that they cause I'm requiring them to have police detail out there. So if the construction trend continues, we may exceed that $201,600 number easily next year, but we're just taking it slow, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So there's increases in commuter parking, railroad parking, non-resident railroad parking, and some adjustments in some other parking fees. Last night, we filed, I think it was last night, Augie, we filed for the record the consolidation of the parking fees.
That's
Yes.
Right. So we're trying to go back to, and we're trying to look at numbers from 2019. I do have staff monitoring the parking lots. And so last night when we talked about reviewing revenue this evening, it's still early February, so it's a little early for us to give you solid projections, but we may be changing these numbers slightly based on the observations of staff. Every Wednesday, staff reports to me how many cars are in each parking lot in the railroad parking lot areas, as well as the other parking spots or the other parking lots.
Jerry,
Yeah.
what that, I also go out and look, and I've been finding anywhere from 50 to 75 cars. Most spaces are still open. I realize that the commuter permits and non-permits are reflective of the fact that you did have an increase,
Yeah.
but I just don't see us at 100%, because even as COVID dissipates, and you're probably talking about your revenue coming not this spring but next spring for parking permits. At this point, we're still negative for this year.
We are.
And a lot of people are going to be going to twice a week on Zoom or something.
Mhm.
I would feel a lot more comfortable with, somewhere around 75, 80% of capacity at this point. Going to a 100% capacity is, you'd like to be there, but I think might be just a little bit ambitious.
So towards the end of our multiple meetings on the budget, we do review expenditures and revenue again. I think we may have some adjustments in those lines to be able to reflect that. Because that's something that we obviously hope, and it's a big revenue producer for us, but we obviously hope to get back to normal conditions. But you may be pretty dead on at the 70 to 80% capacity for several years.
A lot of people I've spoken to who work in the city say their companies are being much more open long-term about people working remotely.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Glenn about that as
Yep.
well.
Right. So one thing that I have been discussing with a local automobile dealer is the potential to use some of those parking lots for their temporary storage of vehicles as they receive them from the factory and then provide them and ship them out to their customers. So I've been looking at that. And I have one very local individual who may be very interested in that.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so that would work pretty well.
Can we back up? My Zoom froze before when you were on the police traffic reimbursement. So I apologize for going backwards. But if this number continues to go up, won't the police overtime also be going up?
Uh-huh.
Are we accounting for that, both sides?
We are.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Problem with that, though, is as it goes up, we lose money, costs us more than we're taking in.
Well, we did equalize it, but that was before all of the benefit increases that Jerry mentioned.
Mhm.
Well, we came closer, but we never equalized it. That was part of the issue.
We did get closer. You're
Recognized at the time, but it you know, and with budgeting, it's an issue that we need to really think through.
So I still have those spreadsheets that we use, so it's very easy to plug in that horrible number that Jerry mentioned of fringe benefits at 81%.
Yep.
You know, that would be an easy calculation to see where we are, just using the old stats.
So parking, if we can move on from parking, parking is an ongoing analysis, and we'll continue to look at that. We do have on page 3, a few items down, our on-street parking. And this is one of our problem areas this year, but we are coming back from basically being in quarantine all the time.
Yeah.
And so parking lot, we reflect we're showing a 12.35% increase, and that's an increase from last year, but it's more in line with what we would normally take in, which is 745 to, you know, in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I've been,
I think Glenn froze up on us.
Yeah.
Following up, you can see that is I was looking at like about 45,000 a month or so.
Right, so that may be a spot we at that number we're 200 plus over.
Jerry?
Sorry, my screen just froze. Can you repeat?
You're at, if we're going to guess, if we're going to anticipate 45,000 a month, we're at 540 for the year. Did he freeze again?
Yeah.
Jerry?
Yeah.
The on-street parking numbers, they do not include any of the discussion we've had about adding some multi-space meters on, you know, Post Road, up and down, particularly to get, you know, Harbor Island parking fees added. So none of that's in here.
None of that's in there. That estimated number for parking on the stretch of Boston Post Road from the harbor entrance to Orienta, both sides, is about $100,000 in revenue.
We really need to get on that.
Yeah, we need to get on that.
Yeah.
The first year, there's approximately a $40,000 expense in putting up the machines, but
yeah.
Hello?
Okay, Glenn. I can hear you now. You keep freezing.
All right, let's try to keep walking through this because we're halfway through the meeting already.
So the next area are.
Sorry, quickly on on-street parking.
Yeah.
Which we're at 269 currently. And I think that affected by of course the avenue, the parking on the avenue.
Yeah.
If that continues or it extended, then do you expect the amount to go up to the 660s?
No, we'll be short there, Victor.
We'll be short
We'll be short a couple of $100,000 there.
this year.
this year. Next year, I don't anticipate, especially if we can add the Boston Post Road metered parking before the summer season, we can recuperate quite a bit of money.
My question, are you taking into account if there is, if those spots on the avenue are taken or reserved for additional seats like was last summer? That's my question.
Let me understand your question. So maybe I can explain it this way. I believe that the parking on the avenue is significantly reduced by the fact that we still went into June and July with quarantine level COVID, everyone staying inside. And then the entire month of November, trying to help the merchants and the downtown restaurants by not providing parking. So we, in essence, lost 3 months, maybe even a little bit more than 3 months of revenue. I don't think that we'll lose that revenue from June of this year to May of next year. And if we can add revenue from Boston Post Road, which I believe all of those vehicles come from out of the village of Mamaroneck, they come from other areas. Most of those people who park there, I believe we'll be able to recuperate at least 750,000 in this line.
I understand that. So then let me rephrase it a little different. Are you assuming full use of the avenue? You're not taking into account the possibility of putting again those barriers to allow the restaurants?
Right. So
what is the assumption as we have the numbers here?
Yeah, I would like to have a discussion where the barriers, there's a contribution from the restaurant to occupy 4 or 5 spaces, and that would add to this line. Because what we did last year was we provided them for free, but right now in our code, if you wanted to occupy one space per day, it's $20 per day.
Yep. Okay.
And we charge the person who's building the theater, we charge him $20 per day per space.
Okay.
We elected not to charge the restaurants for that space.
Okay, good. I just wanted to see the assumptions that are being done. So that'll help us with the other stuff. Okay.
If I can just pipe in on that, last year when we allowed the restaurants to go into the street with their tables, I mean, they were in real crisis, and who knew whether people were going to show up and decide to sit at those tables. And so, we wanted to give businesses, the opportunity to try something to survive. And now that they have the experience of knowing that people will sit at those tables and eat in the street, I think we should charge them this year. There was talk last year of businesses being willing to pay it, but we were generous and wanted to support them and let them try what they needed to try. But I think this year we should charge them. Absolutely.
Yeah. In reality, a business who occupies 4 spots, Kelly, would be paying $80 a day for that spot, for that outdoor cafe. Now that can add up a little bit, week by week, but we could come up with a different fee schedule in order for the board and the restaurants to come up with an amicable, if $20 seems to be a little excessive. I don't think it is, but it's a discussion.
I know when the chamber was looking at it, they were talking about $12 a day because that's how much it would cost if they were to feed the quarters in for all 10 hours. So, but yeah, I mean, I think we should charge for the parking spaces that we're not getting revenue from. Anyway, moving on.
I think we need to keep on trucking, but I'd like to limit it to sort of the larger issues, rather than some of the smaller amounts, even though the swings can be significant, the totals aren't going to have a significant effect on the budget.
What area do you want to go to?
I agree.
What area do you want to go to? We can solicit questions from culture and recreation if you want to, but it's pretty self-explanatory. The increases you see are we're bringing back some programs, and the zeros are that we're maintaining the programs at that level. There could be questions back and forth on that. That's not really a budget buster by any means. But there are some significant increases that we're anticipating on page 5, at the top of page 5. We want to increase our kayak tours. We want to increase paddleboard tours, all single type, single person, single individual recreation items. We have increases on the beach. Last year, we did really well on the beach. And we did not have the spray park. This year, we anticipate utilizing the spray park, provided we follow all CDC COVID guidelines on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So I believe that our beach will continue to have more and more residents.
Rental of the pavilion, 115,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because-
Where does that number come from?
An increase-
I'm slightly wary about that number for the fact that you're still going to be dealing with coronavirus, at least probably until the middle of the summer. I'm not sure if you're going to still have some restrictions on larger groups and with distancing.
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're putting up a large tent so we can double our capacity, because that continues to be an area where we're constantly asked to increase space. We tend to fully book our rental areas, and so we're going to expand that. I can show you that detail. I have that detail in the recreation budget line.
So you're telling us that the rental is the outdoor tent?
Correct. It's the deck, Dan, and it's the tent.
So we've never rented that before, have we?
We've had some revenue in that deck area. It was just last year. It wasn't last year. It was the year before, Ellen, that we had the appropriate furniture. We bought a lot of furniture and we put some lights up, and we're getting $500 per day to rent that, or per event to rent that. So we want to add an additional tent behind the pavilion to have more family type parties outdoors. And I'll pull that sheet out.
Yeah, 110,000 seems high at 500 a shot.
We have calculations. It's 500 per location, per shot.
All right. And what are the field maintenance fees?
Those are people who use our fees, our fields, which we had a significant reduction last year.
So you're anticipating that going over 2019?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So let's stop there for a second, Jerry. Are we fully pricing that out, or are we subsidizing part of that?
No, so our field maintenance fees are 50% of what we actually spend on the maintenance of our fields. With parks and the cost analysis, with the organic fertilizer and treatments that we use, we're about 120,000. It cost us to maintain our fees, to maintain our fields. We collect about 50% of that number. And a lot of that has to do with every time we go to the PRC to ask for an increase in fees, there's significant opposition and there's a lot of discussion telling us we shouldn't or we can't. So.
In the people who do that, they do pay parking, or they don't pay parking?
They are provided parking.
Okay, so we're down, so we're 50% on the cost of maintaining it and free parking. Is that?
No, they don't get free parking. the organization pays for parking and then they give them a parking pass. So they give
Okay.
the person a parking pass.
Okay, and is the parking full freight or is it discounted?
It's the seasonal. It's the seasonal that any resident in Mamaroneck would purchase. The
Okay.
$42 parking fee. But we did the analysis on the field maintenance, Dan, because we knew that that was going to be something
Okay.
that we needed to
Can you,
discuss.
can you make a note that we'll revisit that later?
Sure. Okay. Day camp. So we have some discussion on day camp. I think we should reserve the day camp discussion for the meeting that we have with recreation because it's somewhat involved. And we're at 6:05 right now.
Mhm.
We can go to some other areas. I'm not sure where you want to, what you want to talk about.
Would anyone object to moving to major costs at this point? So we could just keep this big?
I think that's a great idea, Kelly.
Okay,
Before you go there, let's just finish revenues, page 10 of 10. And if you could remember, at some point, we discussed cash flows and how we're going to end up, how we're going to get to the end of the year. That's my question. Today,
This year?
the actual, we're at 5.5.
Yep.
So we're halfway there out of 10.7.
Mhm.
And we talked about 2 more payments of $1 million plus.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a difference. How we're going to get there? How do you think we're going to end up the year?
Right. So if everyone looks at their packet that Augie and Laura provided to all of us, it is the front page. It's a 15-page document, and it's the Village of Mamaroneck results of operations and supplemental information for the month ending. Right. That's the sheet that I'm looking for, Augie. Victor, you had asked us to provide some projections going forward month to month. And so we created this year-end projection sheet for everyone.
What page is that? Page, the last one?
It's
I
the
didn't-
last page of the document for month ending 1/31/2021,
Yep.
right? So our number's a little different because this is
What page in that document?
15.
Got it.
Actually, Jerry, the budget committee didn't get this. Can this be forwarded to us, please?
Yeah, as long as, I'm pretty sure that we had talked about this, but if we didn't, we apologize. We wanted to get this to you. I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay,
But according to an email last night, it was done last night.
yeah.
This wasn't included.
This one was not? We were
Not this
told you.
spreadsheet, but Ellen, it looks like this, actually. It's a 15-page document. This is that's the cover page.
All right, let me go back to that email. I don't think we got it. Hang on.
All right.
Ellen, I looked through my emails earlier today for the documents to prepare for the meeting, and I definitely didn't see it.
Yeah, no, I don't.
It was not to prepare for the meeting. These are monthly financials I provide to the Board of Trustees.
Okay.
That was
Yeah, we did not get that, so.
Right.
Last time I
That's-
was to give the budget committee the next year's budget only. Document, I can send this as well.
That's
Yeah,
a key document. That has all the fund balance, surplus use.
Yeah, we'll give them
That
this.
is key.
Yep. So Victor, on the screen, we're showing a cash flow at the end of May to come to a positive almost $410,000. And those are projections and assumptions that we anticipate
Okay,
as we
so then-
collect the revenue. We collect the
So the-
revenue at different times of the year.
So the numbers are very small, but so let's pick it up. I left, it's clear that we have 5, Are we gonna get two payments more of $1 million plus? That's 7. So
We'll show you that.
how do we get here?
Top line, it's highlighted in gray right now. Highlight that line in gray. Yep, there you go. Scroll so you could show the months, Augie, too. Yep, it's in yellow now.
Give me one
Oh,
second,
okay.
Barry.
That's it right there. So we're looking at February, a payment of 980,000, and then in May, 1.678.
Okay. That's 2.
There's the 2 payments on top of the other payments that we already received.
You have an old one.
Okay. Sales tax.
So sales
the
tax,
rest-
all in war, you got
and the rest-
2.658.
The rest comes right under. That's what you're saying. So mortgage,
Oh.
tenants fees, that's it. That'll do. So that total, oh. I have something different.
Here, Victor,
I have something-
in this projection, we projected sales tax for the second quarter to come in at 980,000. Just a few days ago, we were informed that it's going to be 1,078,000. So it's constantly changing because we're projecting so early in the year. So it's actually going to be a little bit more than 409 that we're going to get in.
This is not page 15 that I have. It's probably the same basis, but this is different.
Yeah, because this number gets up, these numbers get updated live every day.
So the page 15 that you have, Victor, was as of January 28th.
But that gives it 2.3 million, right? Right. That the number that's now 5, it's 2 point. Essentially, give us the updated version, so we can have.
Go ahead, Augie, you can explain it, what the 980 was supposed to be and what it came in at.
Well, the 980, we projected for the second quarter 980. What actually came in was 1,078,000. Laura, do you
Okay.
have the exact number?
Yeah, it was 1,085,000.
That's-
1,085,563.
So it's 100,000 more.
Yeah, it's 100,000 more.
I'm looking for 3 million. So
Yeah,
Right, that still doesn't get us up to the 3 million that we just discussed.
It's only the sum of those 2 payments. The 2,658 is only the sum of the
Ah.
payments.
Yep, bingo.
But
and then you add, let me pull that number up now. I thought I had it in front of me before. What we collected in sales tax, right, as of the document we provided you.
It's 2.763 is the total we've received so far.
okay, yep, I see it here. Thank you.
Okay. And for the year, Jerry, how much did we go into the reserves?
There's another sheet for that.
Yeah. That's page 13.
Page 13, we are at fund balance 1.409, but that includes the 360 for storm SIS, the 260 for the first COVID response, the 240, the 50 for our pandemic.
So it's a little over 750,000 that it's going to be reimbursed.
Right. So I can tell you that for the storm, because we've been actively following up on just some very minor items with the FEMA, and I have my next meeting tomorrow. We have an application of the storm costing us $1.11 million, of which we will receive 75% of that. We budgeted 360 for the storm recovery. And to date, we've spent $176,000. When we receive the $750,000, that will include a lot of the force account labor, which is our own forces, as well as the use of our equipment to fight to recover from a storm like that. So we'll be in the positive about 600,000 in that regard.
Do you think it'll come this year, this fiscal year?
Whenever it comes, we just send it back into fund balance, Victor. So it won't matter.
Okay, but the point in this, we actually used, this is 1.4, and we also used 600 to balance. So we took 2 million from reserves. And this 0.4 is really covering the operations of the COVID response, right?
Yeah.
Some of the BLB and some other operations. So we are funding operations with our reserves.
No. We took 810,000 for the COVID response and another 360,000 from the storm out of fund balance.
Right.
It's 810, so it's $1.17 million to deal with the pandemic and to deal with the storm.
Right, yes, and some of that is overtime, additional
Yeah.
services, et cetera. So
Which
in a way we were running. That's my point. I don't
Yeah.
want to, I'm not,
Yeah, but
it's not academic.
on the pandemic, we will receive 100% reimbursement. On the storm, we'll only receive 75%. But
Okay.
when we write up FEMA, when we submit a FEMA application for recovery, we don't just recover what we actually spent out of pocket. We recover our salaries, we recover the use of our equipment, we recover a lot of things.
At least a
So
million.
we're in for two, we took out about 2.5, a little bit more than that, and we're getting about 700,050 back. So we're $1.8 million, $1.7 million.
No, it doesn't sound like that.
No,
I think, Jerry, if you could just say, what's the net amount that will be drawn down from reserves after reimbursement? Your best estimate.
it's an increase, Len.
Okay.
We will realize an increase. We will realize $600,000 in the storm response that FEMA will reimburse us. So we took $176,000. We've spent $176,000 out of fund balance right now. We will be reimbursed $750,000.
That's a good deal.
And then at the pandemic, for the pandemic, we have spent $423,765, of which we will receive 100% reimbursement.
Okay, so we're making money net against the reserve.
Yeah, Len, we make money on storms. We don't make money on pandemics.
Okay, yes.
Okay, but
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
But did we not use the reserves for other things as well?
A few other things, yes, and we can you out those numbers and show you.
Okay, so what I
Yeah.
think Glenn was asking for
Yes.
is the net of everything that it was used for, plus, minus whatever we're getting back, is what has been, spent out of the reserves.
Yeah, so it's this. So if you look at the left-hand side of your screen, everything that's not 8745 and 8746, everything else we've taken out of reserves. So for instance, we've taken 120,000 out of reserves for insurance. We've taken 22.5 out of reserves for contract services for fire department. What's ERS? Oh,
Employee
that's
retirement system.
the retirement system, right? So, so everything in 8746, that's reimbursable items. So keep scrolling up, Augie. Yeah.
Is this the same page 13?
Yeah, same page.
The bottom? Okay.
Yeah, same page. So we did use out of fund balance an overage in our communications. We had issues doing the transfer of our communications because of the pandemic and the fact that we had issues getting people inside of the building. We did have some $737 for kayaking, which we had some overages there. In addition, we had, well, no, that's 71.
Okay,
71, I'm sorry, 7141, 7142. We had to take that because we had some additional expenses in kayaking. And then we had beach salaries.
so,
So what I'll ask, if I could, just 1 minute, I will ask Laura and Augie to provide this sheet without the pandemic and storm response. And then you can see the actual number that we've had to go into the fund balance to help us manage our budget.
Yeah.
okay, so my next question is, let's stay right where you were, okay? You had overages and and retirement pension, a whole bunch of things. Okay?
Yeah.
For the proposed budget, have those increases, the increased expenditures been included in the total cost?
In certain areas, for instance, kayak has been increased in revenue as well as in expense. As sanitation personnel, I'm not sure. I can take a look at that. But I understand your question, Dan. I can take a look at that and dive into that and make sure.
What I'm interested in is the big picture. I
Yeah.
don't care about the small little amounts. And I don't care whether the small amounts with 400% or 10%. It's not relevant. We talk about hundreds of thousands of dollars for added together in terms of let's say the retirement fund. Funded. We just passed a resolution last night. That. So if we take those numbers, and said, okay, we were under budget because we're forced by law to add, $100,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
For this coming budget,
Yes.
have we added the $100,000 to the base of what we're doing so that, plus whatever we think the overage is going to be for next year, so we don't get caught.
We have done that in insurance, and we have done that in one other item. It was in the telecommunications. The reason we're over on telecommunications is because we weren't able to switch to our new system, and we had to maintain the old system while we were still trying to transfer over to the new system. Our new system has savings of about $100,000 built into it because we change vendors and we have a different process.
Okay, but some of the big items are the pension or retirement, correct?
That's all in there.
Those were increased.
In our budget, Dan.
Okay, that's what I'm.
Oh yeah, those are all in there. Those big increases that I told you about, they're already in our budget.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Can I ask a question that's probably a stupid one, so I apologize?
Hey, Ellen, let me just jump in and ask Cliff if he could promote Glenn again. He's popped into the attendee section. Okay, go ahead, Ellen.
Kelly, while you're asking Cliff to do something,
Sure.
Is it possible that he can post in the budget that we're going to be a little late? Or not? If he can't do that, I don't want him to wait.
So Jerry, that 1.4 backed out the storm and COVID.
Yep.
910 leaves you a balance of 538,827. Bottom left of the screen.
Right, so that's actually my question, Augie. Is that on top of the 600,000 that was part of the budget to use from the fund? Or is this using that 600?
This is without the 600.
The 600 is used, Ellen, to offset taxes.
Yep.
It's injected into the budget.
So in reality, to answer, I think it was Victor's question to begin with, we've reduced the fund balance $1.1 million after reimbursements.
We reduced it by 538 with anticipation of recovering the balance, the $910,000 plus that we used for the storm and we used for COVID.
Plus, Ellen, don't forget, right now we're projecting a surplus at the end of the year of close to 500,000. If you generate a surplus and not a deficit, you're not using the 600,000 at all.
No, that's fine, but I just wanted to make sure that I understood this 500 is on top of that 600. It doesn't mean that's what the balance is going to go down because with surplus, but
Yeah, and so the way I want to look at it is the 500 is in addition to the total budget of 39 or whatever it was, $37 million.
which included the 600.
Yeah, which included the 600. That is absolutely correct. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I needed to clarify.
I'd like to follow up on Kelly's question of trying to focus on the big items on the cost and
Go
where,
ahead.
and where we're short this year and where we're tight for next year, sort of like snow.
We haven't changed snow. We had the same, we're budgeting the same, hi Glenn, we're budgeting the same as we always have for snow. There has not been a reduction in this budget for snow related removal. And we can show that in Tony's budget.
So where are we to date in terms of what was budgeted and what we've spent?
I don't have that live, but we can pull that up.
That's, you know, we won't really know the answer to what that is until for a couple of weeks, because we're going to be processing invoices from these last several snowstorms for a couple of weeks going forward. So
Understand, but we would have an idea whether we're, you know, on target, over, under, whatever.
We're going over budget on with the.
go to page
Next go out
170.
Friday.
If you go to the last page, 170, that's what tells you that we're actually spent 26,811,000, right? That's where we are in expenditures.
That's right.
Actually, our budget originally was 37.
That's right.
And with all that, the additionals that the other new appropriations, we ended up to 39.
Yeah,
But the budget for us last year was really a 37.5 budget.
that's correct.
So that's why this first sheet that you provide to us and some of the other breakdown that was just discussed is the one that gives us the big picture, because we're jumping from a 37.5 to 39, well, 2 million more in this transition year. And that, I think that understanding that, putting aside now the explanation of that there could be a surplus and there's the recouping, but that tells you a lot about what's really happening in the budget and how we can then see the lines. So that would be key to understand.
So your adopted 2021 is 37,513. Right now, the adjusted is 38,853. So that's 1.3,
Okay, one. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry.
1.35 million.
Jerry.
Yeah, Glenn.
Yeah, what happened to the health center? I know that we had 53,000 in the budget, and then we added because we had replaced we had extra expenses when we replaced that whole back wall. So at one time it showed 60,000. I know it was capital, but we had budgeted 60,000. Right now it's showing absolutely no expense.
Which one is that again?
The mental health center. Community health center, the last I saw shows zero spending. We have 53,000. We had actually done a budget transfer to pay for to finish out paying for the repairs. And at one time we had $60,000 charged against the budget.
Mm-hmm.
Was that paid for through a donation or something else? But all of a sudden, no expense in that line for the
that was to close out the capital project that we did.
Yes.
Right. So we budget 10,000 for the CCC to provide them for offsetting their operating costs. We provide in the budget $42,000 in repairs. We did a lot of improvements last year, so we haven't had to change. We haven't had to touch the repair line this year, if that's your question.
So how did we pay for the $60,000? Was that paid for last year?
That was Augie and Dan will help me.
Yeah.
Either we put that into the capital. Remember, Dan, what we did with
It
that?
was a capital expense.
Yeah,
You're talking about, the repairs were made to the
Even if it's
roof and the
capital-
pointing.
The capital expense, you still have to either pay for it through general line bonding, donations, or the budget last year. How did we actually pay?
It's-
Go ahead, Augie.
We bonded it.
We bonded it. We folded into our bonding, Glenn.
Okay, and when was that? Last year's bond
I just,
or upcoming bond?
last week we issued the bond.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that the one for 5.4 that you had already approved?
That the board approved, yes, we closed yesterday. Last week we closed on it.
Okay, so that got included in that.
Yeah, we folded that into that, and I think, what was the percentage on our rate? 1%, Augie? 1 point what?
Close to 1%, that's correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Bond, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And as we did that, also put the police chief car in there.
The police cars
No,
are not
the
on
chief's vehicle, you talking about the fire chief or the police chief?
The fire chief, 65,000.
I don't think we've done that yet. We haven't received that vehicle yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and that will be paid for however in the future. The
That's
only
correct.
reason I asked that question is they were talking about the safety equipment. And I know we did the police cars. I know we did the Scott packs.
Yeah.
Originally, I thought they were going to pay for the fire chief's car under that line, but then Dan said that we did turn out gear and other stuff to complete the 250,000. So that's why I asked that question.
We did, and we haven't received the fire chief's vehicle yet, so we're not going to.
Okay, the last one is bought 2 dump trucks for about 465. Is that going to be a future bond?
I don't think it was in this bond, right? What was in this bond, Augie? Was just the fire truck in this bond?
Oh, there were several items on this bond. I have
Air
the detail.
conditioning units, correct?
What?
We got to look at.
The
We're gonna look at the
redone
schedule.
air conditioning units?
I don't have the document in front of me, Glenn. Off the top of my head, I can't remember all of the items that were included in this 5-point-something million bond.
Okay.
We can get you that. We can get you that.
To go back, unfortunately, my phone died out. I was talking to you about the pavilion, 115,000. That I thought that might be a little bit on the ambitious side because we are going to have COVID coming into the beginning of the summer and such.
Yeah.
The other line that I wanted to have looked at is fines and forfeitures. I had actually mentioned that at one of the trustees meetings that they had the audit on the courts and there wasn't a whole lot of money pending for us through fines and forfeitures because we no longer do bail. And as you're doing that fines and forfeitures line, you might have to go back and just research what percentage of that money we were getting on the forfeitures through bail, because New York State, at our level, basically, we're not going to be doing bail at all anymore. Therefore, that adjusted.
We've looked at it in the past. It was always a very small number. I mean, the big items that make up that revenue are parking tickets and moving violations. I think it's probably 80 to 85%, those 2 items.
All right, if we've got 10 minutes left before I need to scoot to a traffic meeting. So if we could just really go back to some big picture expenses, as this is kind of an overall overview meeting. So if we could get to big expenses, I'd appreciate it.
Big expenses, I can tell you that big expenses start on page 156 of our budget document.
I got a quick one for you. The CHIPS program, can we just take that out on both sides? I don't think we've received any income from that since 2019 at early. It's CHIPS. It's 237.
No, we can't take it
in revenue, $230,000 worth of expense. I don't think we've gotten any money for that program for 3 years.
Yeah. So Glenn,
Just zero it out on both sides. If money actually comes in, you can restore it on both sides.
but Glenn, we can't take it out. Augie will explain why, but let me tell you, on the receiving of chips, in 2019, we did a road program. And so we've provided them the documentation, the photographs, the invoices, and all of that stuff to recuperate over $1 million in CHIPS money. We had, I think, 4 years, maybe even 5 years worth of CHIPS money on our $3.6 million road and sidewalk program. So we're still waiting for reimbursement on, I think, 4 or 5 years of CHIPS money.
Well, like I said, I didn't say eliminate the line. I just said I would do zero revenue on both sides until you actually got revenue from them.
Yes, Jerry, you were talking about the retirement benefits. Is that what you were referring us to? The big expense item?
I'm talking about 156, 157, all the way to 166. Those are the largest.
Let's jump there and start.
Yeah.
Those are big numbers.
Those are big numbers and those are big increases.
Yes.
And so because we've been able to cut in other areas, we're able to absorb these numbers. And that was one of my opening statements, to be able to provide the board and the budget committee some challenges that we had to overcome before we started looking at what DPW wanted to buy and what the parks wanted to buy and all of those great items that they look forward to every year. They also look forward to having their pension payments and their medical expenses. So those are the items there. On page 156, we have an 18.21% increase in New York State employee pension.
What was the other page? 150?
156, Victor?
56, okay, got it.
156.
Yep.
We have to absorb an 18.21% increase
Yeah, got it.
pension for
Yep, I see it.
non-police employees. The police pension went up 27.35%, which is a killer. The FICA, which is the Social Security and our Medicare, went up 5.22%. The MTA tax, the employee benefits, went up 17.11%. On page 160, our workman's comp is actually flat. On the self-insurance runoff, but our workman's comp premium has gone up 14.32%. I think a big increase in that, not necessarily reflective of the Village of Mamaroneck, but statewide, is the COVID workman's comp and disability concern that I believe insurance companies are dealing with. Page 160, which is a small dollar amount, but a large increase. We had an increase of 87.17% in group life insurance based on our contract obligations. Page.
Jerry, let me stop you for a minute.
Yeah.
If we're at 81% fringe benefits,
yeah,
let's stock up with most other municipalities.
I haven't had to have the occasion to do the comparison. We can do the comparison, but what I can tell you is that FEMA has, the reason I know that it's 81%, Dan, is because we provided the fringe benefit calculation to FEMA, who will reimburse us for every hour of pay for our employees, an additional 80.
I understand that.
But I've never
that's
done
a huge percentage,
That's correct. And what FEMA said was it's in line with other municipalities in New York State.
Yeah, I mean, if basically, the main drivers of our pension of our fringe benefit or our pension, which every municipality is in, are insurance, which every municipality faces. The health insurance, I would hazard to guess most of the municipalities in our area are in the New York State health insurance program, Empire. So their costs could be similar. And there's no benefit that we're providing that is atypical for a municipality in Westchester County.
Okay, I got it. So let me do a philosophical thing, because I know Kelly and I have to leave shortly. We had, Jerry has pointed out that we have some very significant expenditures that are not in the budget that we have to deal with, like managing the sewer, whether it's a full-time village attorney, but there are a few very, very significant items that we have not incorporated. And I think the explanations that Jerry has given, and staff have provided are very helpful and give a lot of insight. I think as a board member, the concern is that we basically have three choices. We can budget and take money out of the reserves. We can say we do not want to take money out of the reserves, or we can exceed the 2% cap. Those are the three items I think are faced. Maybe I'm saying it wrong, but I think that conceptually those are the alternatives that we have in front of us. And I think part of the issue is testing the assumptions that we have as to whether the costs are fair. And I'm not saying they're not, do not misunderstand me, whether the revenue projections are fair. I'm not saying they're not. And what we do with major programs that we do not have a choice on, that are facing us, and what we have in terms of setting priorities, and are there things that can be postponed to when we have better times, not suggesting that anything in the budget is not desirable and not needed. That's not what I'm saying. But these I think are the major choices that we have to make.
Yeah.
What are you suggesting that we do? Or I have also one brief comment before we close. Or other people, I'm sure, have.
I don't have the answer, but I know that I'm a big believer, and we did this when I was last on the board, is we went to, we had to pay for everything. We wouldn't take stuff out of the reserves to balance, stay under the cap or whatever. We understood that that no matter what we do, the taxes are going to be an issue. And I think what we need to do is try and manage it as best as possible and figure out what the alternatives are if, to do that. I think that's part of our responsibility. And either we do it or we don't.
My thought, and I've said all along, is I don't want the revenues to be where they have to be to perfection, and the expenses have to be to perfection. I've said from the minute looking at the budget, whether you want to go over the 2% is the decision of the trustees, but you're going to have to be at 2%. I think that if you got $603,000, which we are below the 2% right now, I think that should be given to staff to make adjustments with the budget to be a little bit more realistic and give the budget at least a little bit of breathing room. Come up with those numbers, then look at what you're looking at with the against the reserves and where we are with capital. Like, one of the things I can pick right out again is we're back to $150,000 worth of police cars that aren't currently in the budget, that you're going to wind up doing a bond on an item that's what, its entire lifespan is no more than 4 years.
No, Glenn, we got money from the state on those cars.
No, that's this year. I'm talking about next year.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
you know.
rather than get into more specifics here, which are really for later meetings, I need to leave. Dan,
Okay.
are you leaving?
My-
Are you leaving now? Dan?
My final comment,
I'm gonna stay on for a maximum of 5 more minutes, and then I have to leave. We have the budget, and everybody,
No longer have a quorum.
Yeah, that's my, once Dan leaves, we won't have a quorum.
Yeah.
I only have one quick thing, which is
Go ahead,
this, since you'll be introducing the budget in a week or 10 days.
Yeah.
You wanted some guidance. I'm 1 of 5, but my concern is, I want to see the revenue projections. I've just checked a couple municipalities. I don't see anybody going higher. People are reducing, municipalities are reducing their budgets. And that's what I've checked. And there's actually an upcoming seminar with the controller's office. I've been looking at their materials. I'm a little concerned that we're being over optimistic. And I want to hear others, what others have to say, and contemplate a scenario that's a little lower. That's what I think. I'll do my research. You do your work, and we really trust and build on it. But that's my feeling at this point.
Victor, it's Ellen. I agree with you. I think we're very aggressive on the revenue side. And just to make the budget look good, I don't think that's a smart thing to do. And I'm not saying that was the driver, but I'd rather be more conservative on the revenue side.
One other thing, if we completed the bond for 2021, is what we're going to be paying in principal and interest going to reflect the updated budget
It's in the budget already
for next year?
for next year.
okay, Kelly, before you leave, if you have any thoughts on the concept issues that we've just raised.
You know, what I really wanted to get to was the sewer treatment expense line, which isn't in the budget. And I know you emailed about it earlier today. I was hoping to get some sense of ballpark, how big that is, if it blows the whole 600,000, I mean, I was just trying to get some sense of where that's going to be.
So Kelly, Augie will explain it much better than I can.
Okay.
Augie, explain how we book sewer expenses.
We have a separate sewer fund that accounts for all sewer expenditures. Those expenditures are paid from fees that we get from the waterworks.
Uh-huh.
So once a year, we submit our budget to the waterworks, what the water fund's going to be, and the sewer fund. They do the calculations and let us know what the rate has to increase by to cover those fees. So right now, we're at the beginning part of discovering what the sewer and water fund's total budget's going to be. Once we're comfortable with that, we're going to give it to the waterworks. They'll give us a rate increase, and we go back to the Board of Trustees to either approve an increase in the rate or B, approve a transfer to cover the difference, if there is any.
Okay, this is a much bigger discussion to have, obviously. So am I oversimplifying in saying that this compliance with the Save the Sound litigation can be covered by sewer fees?
You're 100% right.
Okay.
Except,
Thank you. We will
I
have
think
that discussion another day.
technically, that is.
But only if you raise them.
To have an organized discussion.
Technically, that is correct. But in terms of the effect to our residents.
Right.
Absolutely.
We need to look at the entire picture and just not say, well, that's a separate fund. We don't need to worry about it.
No, Dan, I wasn't at all suggesting.
No, I understand that, but I want everybody else to understand that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to jump
In
off.
any case, we never get to the funds. This year, let's do the funds.
I agree.
Jerry, at some point, right?
I agree.
Leave it at last minute and we don't get this discussion. So build it in.
Okay.
Propose something. Okay.
I'm leaving. Do we have a motion to close the meeting, or would you all prefer that I leave and you close it whenever you're done?
I'd like it to stay on for just a couple of minutes, not because anything that.
Okay. Don't forget to close the meeting.
I just want to finish this point.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yep.
Jerry, I think it's important when we talk about the funds to schedule a good hour to go through the funds and their implications.
I agree. We'll schedule that.
Not build that into the schedule, but I think we need to. even at the expense, if we have to shorten, some department somewhere along the line.
I
Because
think we should amend
bigger
the
issue.
schedule to include that. I think we should amend it in the schedule to include that. It is absolutely important. I agree with you.
And my concern is that many times we just don't focus on this and go and look at the entire cause and effect to what happens to our residents.
I understand. I'm one of them too. You're exactly right.
And do not misunderstand me. I'm not criticizing the budget preparation at all.
No,
I
don't think
thought
it.
the information that has been provided by you and Augie and Laura have been exceedingly helpful in getting a better feel for it. But I think one of the things we need to do as we go through this is to look at the larger figures, both in terms of revenue to revenue, cost to cost, and increases. I'm less concerned about the percentage increases as I am about the total dollars.
Okay.
Because we get a comfort level on certain percentages, which don't, then you look at the total and all of a sudden we're not there.
We can speak both languages. We can speak numbers and percentages interchangeably. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
So
Anybody else have any closing remarks?
can anybody hear me?
Yep,
I
I can hear you.
Yes.
Can hear you, Laura.
I'm having a problem with my microphone. I agree. I think we have to be careful about the revenues. I'd rather be, pessimistic now and pleasantly surprised at the end, because I am worried about the I&I costs and this huge filtration plant. Like those are just two big things to be dealing with everything else. So.
Remember, it's easier to just.
But we also have to be
upwards.
careful, when we talk with the waterworks, which is what is, 5 out of the 7 things that we approved last night were never in the projections that we got from Westchester Waterworks that we would need. And that's a significant number when you add it all together. So we need to take a much more holistic approach, I think, to look at this thing.
Yeah, and just for my spot, I think that Jerry, Augie, everybody there, you really did a fantastic job.
Thanks.
What I want is you are going to do whatever you have to do with what the revenue passed by the trustees is. This is more a message on behalf of the trustees that I think that you have an extremely tight budget, and anything we can do to help loosen some of the restraints that you have financially right now, to help you have that budget have a little bit of breathing room, I think would be best for everybody. The budget itself, what you did, you took the numbers, and that's what you presented, and you did a fantastic job. From my point of view, I think that we need to enhance your numbers a little bit to make it a little bit easier for you to come up with the final budget.
I agree with that.
Okay, Jerry, we promised you 2 hours. I don't want to keep you late.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Everybody can come to the budget meeting if they want, but I think
Jerry, you
it's
call me
been very helpful.
you want for a couple hours?
No.
Yeah, but I also want to watch the overtime budget.
Yeah, but we have to do that too. So we need a motion from trustees to close the meeting.
I move to close the meeting.
I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you have a different Zoom for your meeting for budget? I may.
Yeah, they have different ones.
It's
Yeah,
on the Sally's.
I'll peek for a little while. All right.
If you want to join us, you come in as attendee and I'll promote you. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
See you later.
Thank you, everybody.
I'll let you work.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Laura.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Bye. Thank
Augie,
you.
thank you.
Bye.
Soon.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everybody. Good luck.